In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at the current conditions here where we see a big pattern change already taking place on our map here. And then we're going to be taking a look at the big warm-up upcoming, where we're going to see a lot of warm weather for quite a while. But there is major signs that we're going to see winter return in a big way around the first to second week of January, where a lot of snowfall in the eastern United States is going to be possible. We're going to show you guys that in a little bit, alongside some very cold air. Now, let's take a look at these current conditions real quickly. We can see there's some snow showers across kind of the north central into the northeastern United States, and then actually, believe it or not, some snow showers happening here in the deeper south and southeast this morning. That has kind of died down. We do have some thunderstorms and showers happening here across Florida, and then we have this big storm system out west. So we're only going to zoom into the western system here because I think this is the big picture taking place right now. We can see that this is a strong low here offshore of the Pacific Northwest. We see this cold front swinging underneath. All of this storm system is just going to pull the cold air down into the western United States. And we see this warm front out here, right? You see this? This is that warm air, this ridge right here. This is pushing eastward, and this warm front represents the front of that change taking place. So as this storm dives down, it pushes the warm air that's in place further eastward. And that is going to be what causes this pattern change to happen. The storm is pretty much to blame. We see heavy precipitation happening throughout California. A little bit more spotty here the further north you go, but still very heavy. And then across a lot of the Rockies, we're seeing some of this activity as well. Let's zoom into some of these corridors in here. We see a lot of this showery activity moving into these areas. A little bit more spotty as we work our way further south, but still happening in a big way. But again, it's this area further south where I'm mostly eyeballing, because we have these heavy showers heading into the San Francisco Bay Area, also areas further south of there. And then we can see a lot of heavy snowfall happening in these areas here throughout the Sierra Nevadas. Very, very heavy. The whites is indicating heavy snowfall. The grays is a little bit lighter, but the blue is whiteout conditions. So we know these Sierra Nevada mountains are just receiving extremely heavy snowfall. And you could totally tell that there is just tons of moderate to heavy precipitation heading onshore and straight into these mountains. So this is not going to stop anytime soon. We have a lot more on the way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move on, take a look at that modeled guidance, see the pattern change take place, and then the eventual potential pattern change back into the cold and snowy conditions. So let's take a look at all of those things in just a moment. First things first, we're taking a look here at the upcoming storminess. We're just going to take this towards this afternoon here, or evening time even. And we see more and more snowfall happening as these temperatures get colder. We can see the jet stream is doing pretty much this right here. So we're seeing some colder air moving its way into the northeast, still around, but we see a lot of it diving into the northwest. And this warm air mass has basically moved to now being over the middle of the country here. That's going to continue its eastward move here, actually. And as we continue things on towards tomorrow, what we see is this trough mostly in the west and this ridge mostly in the east already by the 29th here, Thursday. So we are seeing warm air surge its way in. It is going to be a massive difference from what we've been feeling recently. This cold air and snowfall really working its way into the Rocky Mountains now as this colder air is taking place. By the time we're reaching Friday here, we do see some storminess starting up here for the eastern United States. And this is going to be the theme moving forward, actually, because I've been seeing these signs at very stormy conditions moving up with this warm air. And that's what we saw yesterday, and we continue to see it today. More snowfall and storminess out west as well. So definitely, if not a cold pattern, it is still a very, very stormy pattern, both for the east and the west, actually. And wouldn't be surprised if on the southern end there is some bit of thunderstorm or even potentially severe weather taking place here around Saturday, New Year's Eve, into Sunday, New Year's Day. We see this storm system becomes a little bit of a nor'easter here, bringing some snowfall up there for Canada, rainfall for New England. As we work our way through the day, Monday into Tuesday here, we see a low develop up to the north, bringing a cold front underneath. Warm front surging to the north again. Wouldn't be surprised to see severe weather somewhere here in the southeast, deeper south area. Maybe even approaching the Ohio Valley and northeast. It's hard to say. We definitely have a warm front happening with this as well. So this is a pretty classic setup here with this stronger low that's over the state of Michigan. A little bit of snowfall here perhaps on the back end as well with this one. Um, let's continue this on. This is our first little sign that there's a flatter jet stream, meaning some cold air is able to work its way into the east, but still it is around for the west as well. So we get this kind of balanced outlook. If you were to take a balance beam here, we could see that this is just standing still here. Whereas, a minute ago, if you were to take the balance beam, it would be much more like this, indicating warmer air in the east where it's higher up and colder air where it's lower. That's definitely what we're taking a look at. As we continue this on beyond that storm even, we do see that this just continues to bring a train of storminess for the southeast. What's interesting is obviously it's wintertime right now, but in the summertime spring and summertime, we saw some patterns like this set up where the southeast was just being berated by storminess. And it's kind of interesting to see in the same year, but during the wintertime, or actually a different year because this will be 2023, but definitely seeing a very similar pattern to what we saw over the summertime, just a wintertime version of it. We do see cold and snow out west continuing on, and that's going to be the trend. Now, this was our European model, the highly accurate European model typically. We don't see any signs of cold and snow yet here on the European model because we only get to January 6th. Now, when we take a look at the GFS, which gets us out much further, and we skip straight to January 6th here, what we see is that following January 6th, and again, we have the storminess here in the southeast, just like the European model shows, but beyond this, what we get is right away on the 7th, cold and snow. So I think we're right on the fence of seeing this on the European model, but look at this, major snowstorm here taking place for the Ohio Valley, even parts of the deeper south, and then the northeast as well, potentially for an ice storm there for southern New England into the mid-Atlantic there. As a 998 millibar low pressure center develops here offshore. Very, very interesting stuff. So this develops into a major snowstorm. And look, it kind of follows up with a mid-Atlantic snowstorm here and southern New England snowstorm right around the 8th. So we get some more snow, get some more cold. And as we continue this on, we see this cold continues to show up as we see a pattern a bit like this, which is definitely a highly snowy pattern when we see an air mass like this and the warm kind of balancing back up to the west. Again, balance beam is doing this here. So all the warm air is underneath that, and then the cold is able to slide in to the north of that line. Now we get another nor'easter trying to develop along this cold air, as you can see, right at the end of the model run, and this is bringing some wintry precipitation. So the potential for us to head back into a wintry pattern seems to be there after the 7th of January. So as we begin the second week of January, things look a lot more potential for cold. I mean, it's there. The first week of January, though, looks to be a winter thaw for sure. We've been saying that for a long while now, actually, and sure enough, we're sticking with that, obviously. Now, as we take a look at the total rainfall, and this is through the next 10 days, and it is the European model, by the way, anywhere in the whites, we see practically none. In the grays, a dusting, if not a dusting, we see 1/10 of an inch or less. The greens, 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. The blues, 1/2 an inch to an inch. Your yellows, 1 inch to 2 inches. Reds, 2 to 5 inches. Browns, 5 to 10 inches of precipitation, which is where we start to move into a lot territory, is what I would call it. Very, very stormy territory. So we see that for this area in the deeper south and southeast, and then also for the northwest into portions of the southwest as well, but in general, the west coast of the United States here, we see highly stormy conditions. In those blues, we see 10 to 15 inches, and the pinks even 15 to 20 inches. So 10 or 15 to 20 inches of precipitation, probably all in the form of snowfall here for the Sierra Nevadas, matches up to hundreds of inches, 100 to 200 inches potentially, certainly, or more, depending on the ratios. So that is a lot. That is a lot of snowfall in a 10-day period. And as we take a look at the total snowfall here, a dusting, if anything, in the grays, 2 to even 6 inches of snowfall there in the blues. Your purple 6 to 10, pinks 10 to 20, pastel blues 20 to 35, and then your pastel pinks going to be 35 to 48 inches of snowfall there. But in this area where we saw the most precipitation here, the Sierra Nevadas, maximum of 318 inches of snowfall showing up here. So with the ratios that are expected here, with the temperatures in mind, 300 inches of snowfall or more for the very, very peaks of the Sierra Nevadas here seems to be possible. an absolute gargantuan amount of snowfall. Uh, Unfathomable, really, is what I would call it over a 10-day period, averaging over about 15 inches per day, which is crazy to think about over a 10-day period. Absolute madness is the only way I can describe it. Now let's move on and talk about this European ensemble model here. Just talking about the temperature pattern, we see our cold comes to an end, and there'll be signs of it tomorrow still for Wednesday, where we have kind of neutral or near normal conditions. But as we approach into Thursday, it's evident that we get into a warm pattern here. So very, very warm air set up over the eastern United States. And things are cooling out west, obviously, as we see cold and snowy conditions. And things just stick this way, okay? We're still seeing the cold out west, still seeing the very unseasonably warm temperatures out east by January 4th still. So multiple days after New Year's. And by the 7th, we're still seeing signs of this. But look at the change that happens after the 7th here on the ensemble model. This model starts to show more neutral to even cold temperatures in the east, still cold out west, but again, that balance beam is pretty even here. The ensemble model is many different members put together, and if they start to become more confident in cold in the east, this map will show up as more cold. But until then, this is kind of what we're looking at. This to me looks like the models could swing either way. Probably about half of them show cold in the east, half of them show warm in the east at this point, and that's why it looks so neutral, or what I usually call averaged out here. It probably won't be this average. It'll probably be more extreme in one or the other direction here. But again, when these models all disagree with each other, it comes out with an unrealistic output. So that is important to keep in mind. But we're going to track this every single day. So be sure to subscribe as we do upload daily. Be sure to hit that bell icon as well for daily notifications so you never miss an upload. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.